Hello there and welcome to our nightly news program coming to you live on all 24 News channel from Algiers. Next are the headlines. At the Algerian cabinet meeting, President Tebboune orders the acquisition of 6 aircraft to combat forest fires and directs the need for the National Agency for Investment Promotion to take over the organization and distribution of economic real estate. On the eve of crucial legislative elections, the Socialist Workers' Party accuses Pedro Sanchez of violating Spain's positive neutrality vis-à-vis Western Sahara. Also coming up, the battles are entering their third week in Sudan. The army begins deploying the Central Reserve Forces south of Khartoum. The Rapid Support Forces announced the extension of the truce by 72 hours, and the first shipment of aid from the Red Cross arrives in the country by air. And before the inevitable attack, Russia is racing against time in Bakhmut. Moscow declares control of 4 districts in the west of the city, and Ukraine confirms its control of a vital supply route in the region. Hello again and welcome to the program. First off, in our news, President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, chaired a cabinet meeting on Sunday devoted to different draft laws related to protecting and preserving state lands, conditions and modalities for granting economic real estate for investment, in addition to a presentation of precautionary measures to face fires in the summer and another related to the social protection of marine fishing professionals. Algeria's ambassador to Bogota, Ahmed El-Hashimi, affirmed that Algeria and Colombia play a leading role in developing relations between Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean. El-Hashimi, in his intervention in the Colombian Senate on the occasion of a forum on Afro-Colombian relations, indicated that Algeria and Bogota had initiated many projects for the benefit of Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean, praising the establishment of the 2 parliamentary groups for the Algerian-Colombian friendship last May, describing the important step for the 2 countries.
My country, Algeria, is historically considered one of the countries that fought colonialism. It is also considered one of the founders of the African Union. Geopolitically, Algeria has geographical borders with several African countries. With regard to the bilateral relations between Algeria and Colombia, we can say that they are 2 pivotal countries in Africa, Latin America and the Caribbean, each in its own region. Algeria in Africa, the Maghreb and the Mediterranean, and Colombia in Latin America and the Caribbean. The 2 countries share common visions and goals with geographical and geopolitical dimensions as well, in order to establish a bilateral parliamentary friendship between Algeria and Colombia since May 2022.
To Western Sahara now, Sahrawi President, Secretary General of the Polisario Front, Ibrahim Ghali, approved on Saturday new appointments at the level of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. A statement issued by the Sahrawi presidency indicated that the presidential decree included appointments at the level of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the embassies of the Sahrawi state, and the frontline representations abroad, the most important of which are appointments at the central level of the ministry, representatives in states, continental commissioners, and ambassadorial level in states. The Socialist Workers' Party sharply criticized Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez, accusing him of violating Madrid's positive neutrality regarding Western Sahara and subjugating Spain's interest to Rabat's pressures in exchange for ruining the relationship with Algeria without achieving significant gains. Zahra Frajani with the report.
Ahead of the upcoming Spanish general elections, current Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez is losing his popularity as the circle of his critics, angry at his decision, increases while the number of his supporters diminishes. Sánchez's own political party accused him of violating positive neutrality towards the occupied Western Sahara, throwing Madrid into a crisis with dire consequences, according to a study by the current ruling Socialist Workers' Party.
Morocco, by mobilizing support for its plan on Western Sahara, wants to legitimize the de facto policy, which undermines the course of the solution proposed by the United Nations. Pedro Sánchez has broken the traditional positive neutrality and put Spain in front of challenges, the most dangerous of which is the eminent ruling issued by the European Court of Justice regarding hunting agreements with Morocco and the exclusion of desert lands from them.
The ruling party in Spain says that the new phase for Madrid-Rabat relations appears compatible. However, inwardly wise, there are concessions and tensions that might drag Sánchez along with Madrid towards crises of unknown consequences.
Spain and Morocco have entered a new phase in relations, but this consensus, which faces elements of tension, did not excuse Madrid from making concessions in light of Rabat's exploitation of the migration card to put pressure on it. Morocco's position towards Ceuta and Melilla is still a stumbling block in relations between the two countries.
The report of the Socialist Workers' Party confirmed that Sánchez placed Madrid at the center of a complex crisis in which Algeria and Italy won, while Spain and Morocco lost.
The Moroccan Democratic Confederation of Labour and the Social Front called on Moroccan citizens to attend massively and participate in large demonstrations on May 1st to express their anger at the deteriorating social conditions and the fierce attack on rights and freedoms in the country. The Moroccan Democratic Confederation of Labour said in a statement on its Facebook page that the commemoration of May 1st demonstration this year comes in light of a social situation characterized by the dramatic rise in prices and the collapse of purchasing power and the government's evasion of implementing the obligations of the 30th of April 2022 agreement and its rejection of a general increase in wages, in addition to multiplying pension earnings and the right to strike. Trade deficit in Morocco rose to more than $7.2 billion during the first quarter of this year, an increase of more than 13% on an annual basis. Data on the Exchange Office of the Moroccan Ministry of Finance showed an increase in the energy bill to $3.3 billion during the first 3 months of the current year. European countries have destroyed quantities of Moroccan agricultural crops after realizing that they do not comply with applicable health safety standards. Portuguese media reported that the country's authorities withdrew and destroyed all shipments of cucumbers imported from Morocco after discovering that they contained a high percentage of pesticides exceeding the maximum permissible limit within the European Union. Czech authorities also took a similar measure with regard to pepper imported from Morocco, which contains high levels of pesticides as well. The European Commission warned of the danger of such agricultural products to the health of the consumer, stressing that they may lead to death. On the Libyan issue now, the head of the Presidential Council in Libya, Mohammed al-Menfi, called for the unification of Libyans in order to build a democratic state and to end the stages of transitional politics and renew the legitimacy of institutions. Al-Menfi also emphasized on the need to support the elections in the shortest terms to guarantee peace and stability in the country. The Libyan Supreme Council of the state denied on Sunday news regarding a meeting between the Speaker of the Council, Khalid al-Mashri, and the Speaker of Parliament, Aguila Saleh. On a Facebook post, the media office of the Supreme Council of the state confirmed that the efforts of the Council's head, Khalid al-Mashri, are focused on implementing the electoral process and making it a success, and overcoming all difficulties for the 6+6 committee charged with consensus and proposing electoral laws. Sudanese conflict continues for the third week in Roh as gunfire resounded throughout the capital Khartoum on Sunday. Tens of thousands of citizens have made it out to neighboring countries or have been evacuated. However, the humanitarian situation for the rest of those who are still trapped is still critical. Osama Yadi reports.
Sounds of gunfire continue to rumble, echoing across the Sudanese capital Khartoum, as ceasefire failed for the fifth time amidst exchanges of accusations of violation between the Sudanese army and the Rapid Support Forces. The scene from above unveils thick black smoke rising over the skyline of the Sudanese cities, including Omdurman. The battles have only left rubble and destroyed vehicles on the roads. As for human loss, hundreds of people have been killed and thousands wounded since this long simmering power struggle erupted into conflict on April 15.
It all started around 1, 2, and 3 a.m. We took refuge at a local police station. They told us we cannot stay because the fighting had started. I called my children and told them to take my grandchildren and leave. And then we fled on foot.
Tens of thousands of Sudanese citizens have been lucky enough to make it out of the front line, finding refuge in neighboring countries such as Chad and Egypt. Many more others are still attempting to make it safe to the other side, away from the violence, waiting inside their buses at Sudanese border into Egypt. The UNICEF has sounded the alarm over the humanitarian situation in the country, which affected over 600,000 children who suffer from acute malnutrition. Furthermore, conditions of humanitarian workers in the country have been identified as extremely dangerous, especially that a number of aid workers had been killed in the fighting.
We know that ahead of this crisis, over 15 million people were in need of humanitarian assistance, and that included 8 million children. All the aerial bombardments, the attacks on facilities, the attacks on water infrastructure, the destruction of vital vaccine, that figure is going to go up.
Meanwhile, the International Committee of the Red Cross, for its part, delivered the first international shipment of humanitarian aid to Port Sudan, which includes medicines, food, and clothes for the citizens who are not as lucky to make it out of the country.
This medical assistance will hopefully travel quite quickly from Port Sudan, delivered to the hospitals that are in most need. And that requires indeed a ceasefire that should be respected by both sides for us to be able, with our colleagues from the Sudanese Red Crescent, to deliver these items as quickly as we can.
Elsewhere in the southwest Sudan, citizens live some sort of calm as the military conflict continued to rage on, making the situation really critical. There are no clear signs of a near resolution for the power struggle in the country, amidst continued calls for ceasefire extension for humanitarian purposes. However, no serious steps have been taken to solve the deadly conflict in the war-torn country.
The Palestinian Foreign Ministry began evacuating about 120 of its citizens from Sudan. And according to the political advisor to the Palestinian Foreign Minister, 2 buses carrying 118 citizens set off from Khartoum on the way to Arkin crossing between Sudan and Egypt. The Palestinian embassy in Cairo ran buses towards the crossing, in order to receive the citizens and secure their transfer to the Rafah crossing. Earlier, the Palestinian authorities announced that 300 Palestinian citizens had been evacuated from Sudan. On Sunday, dozens of extremist settlers stormed the Blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque from the Moghrabi Gate, and according to the Islamic Endowments Department in Al-Quds, the occupation police continue to impose restrictions on the entry of Palestinians to Al-Aqsa, especially those from Al-Quds. In a different story, Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi will go to Damascus on Wednesday at the official invitation of his Syrian counterpart for a very important two-day visit. According to the official Iranian news agency IRNA, Iran's ambassador to Syria, Hussein Akbari, emphasized that Raisi's visit to Damascus is very important regarding the changes and developments taking place in the region. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, in his meeting with the Chinese government special envoy for Middle East issues, Zhai Jun, who is on a visit to Damascus, expressed his appreciation for China's efforts, which he described positive in helping to improve Syria's relations with other Arab countries. During the meeting, al-Assad said that he highly appreciates China's strong support for Syria in protecting national independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, and stressed that the successful Chinese mediation in restoring diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran will eventually have a positive and important impact on the international scene and the regional level. As the fighting in the war-torn region of Bakhmut enters its 8th month, both Ukrainian and Russian forces are locked in a bitter struggle for control, despite efforts by Ukrainian armed forces to push back Russian advances. The situation remains unpredictable and dangerous, with no clear end in sight. More with Sofian Kantouri.
The fighting in the war-torn region of Bakhmut has entered its 8th month, with both Ukrainian and Russian forces suffering heavy casualties and significant damage to infrastructure. Despite the Ukrainian military's best efforts, Russian forces have made significant advances in the region, pushing deeper into Ukrainian territory and capturing key strategic locations. In the latest update from the front lines, Deputy Defense Minister of Ukraine, Anna Malia, talked to her Telegram channel to share the grim reality of the ongoing conflict, saying that the situation in Bakhmut remains highly volatile.
The hottest thing now is taking place in Bakhmut and Maryinka. Fierce fighting continues in the city of Bakhmut.
However, Ukrainian Armed Forces spokesman Serhiy Sherivati confirmed that Ukrainian forces have regained control of vital road connecting Bakhmut with the town of Chasiv Yar.
Yes, it's really difficult there. They talk about trying to control the road, to keep shooting, but our defense forces didn't allow the Russians to cut off our logistics.
For the Russian part, Yevgeny Prigozhin, founder of the Wagner Group, said that his fighter had made significant advances on Sunday, pushing up to 230 meters in different directions in the area of Bakhmut.
Today, Wagner units advanced up to 230 meters in various directions and occupied 58,000 square meters. An area of 2.9 square kilometers remains under enemy control in Bakhmut.
The city in Ukraine has become a crucial battleground for both Ukrainian and Russian forces due to its strategic location and the importance of its road as a transportation hub for supplying Ukrainian troops in the Donbass.
Thousands demonstrated in Paris in some French cities against the expected changes in French immigration plan. Immigrants who participated in the demonstrations described the plan as racist, as it aims to criminalize foreigners. Islam Sid with more.
Another wave of demonstrations with another different story hit the French cities, including the capital, Paris, as thousands of protesters, including many undocumented migrants, took to the streets rejecting planned changes to immigration laws.
The government continues to insist on presenting a bill, even if it is postponed until the end of the school year. It might even be worse than the previous one, since they want to limit it to the most repressive measures, even to have a majority with the right in the National Assembly.
The Paris march was seized the law racist, is added to a series of protests that France is witnessing lately, as the social unrest over the controversial pension reform ravaged through many French cities, calling on the government to reverse the decision.
No, c'est raciste.
We say it's racist. It's a racist bill. They are not there to give a solution. They tell us regularization in jobs under pressure. What are the jobs under pressure? The jobs under pressure are jobs in which the working conditions are horrible. The pay is hellish.
In Europe still, but this time UK, about 80 heads of states and government, kings and princes, and thousands of personalities will participate in the coronation ceremony of King Charles III next Saturday, in the presence of representatives of various sects and religions in Britain. British media reveal that London is inviting representatives of about 200 countries in the world to attend the most important event that Britain is witnessing in the modern era, and it is expected that the authorities will record a large influx of heads of state and government. With the same story still, with the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, at her rural Balmoral home in September, Charles III became king. Few months later, he was formally declared Britain's new monarch, and now, after months of preparation, Charles will be officially crowned in a magnificent and deeply religious ceremony at Westminster Abbey on May 6th. More details with Salma Nasib.
Millions of people across the UK and the world are preparing to celebrate the coronation of King Charles III, a symbolic ceremony combining a religious service and pageantry. The coronation ceremony will be held at Westminster Abbey on May 6, where 2,800 guests are expected to attend. Charles the King, who will be crowned along with Camilla, the Queen Consort, will be the 40th reigning monarch crowned there since 1066. After months of preparation for the big day, more than 700 guardsmen, officers and band members rehearsed the procession on Saturday, perfecting their drill and timings so that everything goes smoothly during the celebration ceremony.
Coronation procession is going to be huge in comparison to the size of the armed forces. More in comparison to what was on parade in 1953, but of course the armed forces was 880,000 strong in 70 years ago. So it is an absolute challenge. It's going to be about 8,000 in total on parade. And of course that comes with its own challenges.
This Saturday, a service was held at London's Westminster Abbey a week before the ceremony in order to welcome Scotland's Stone of Destiny. After more than a quarter of a century, Stone is returning to England and is set to play a key role in the coronation of King Charles III next week.
It's a marvellous moment. And it's a rich and rather complicated moment. We have members of staff who worked here when the stone left in '96, and we remember that. Actually, it's quite a traumatic day for us. Very good reasons why the stone should leave, but actually for people who had seen it here over the years, it was very, very difficult. And as we have just heard in the service that I've just been at, the stone has been a symbol of enmity, and now it's a symbol of friendship. So this is a really good day.
And as for the procession, it will be set off from Buckingham Palace, moving along to the Mall of Trafalgar Square, then down Whitehall and Parliament Street, before turning into Parliament Square and Brown Sanctuary to reach the Great West Door of Westminster Abbey.
And finally in our news, the Senegalese national team won on Sunday against Congo national team with a 0-0 in the U17 category of the African Cup. The fixture was played in the Nelson Mandela Stadium in Algiers for the first round of the group stage for Group A. The Senegalese team topped the first group along with the hosting country Algeria with 3 points, while the Congolese team finished in third place after the loss.
I congratulate the players for this victory. We played against a respectful selection that has the same capabilities as we have. They could tip the balance of the game for their benefit at any moment.
Well, that's all we have in our program for the night. For more, our social media platforms are always under your service. From me and the rest of the team, thank you for watching. Till next time, take care.